We're going to look back at many of the 50 times that Joe Biden has been on Meet the Press and on other NBC News broadcasts over the years, including 2020. We'll hear his thoughts on domestic policy, foreign policy, and we're going to begin with what he said about governing a divided nation, including a Meet the Press appearance not long after George W. Bush won the controversial 2000 election.
The vote was certified. George W. Bush will be the 43rd president. Senator Biden, let me start with you. House Democrats protesting the vote in Florida. And if they had gotten a senator to join in their protest, they could have had a challenge, if you will, to the Electoral College vote. Why wouldn't any Democratic senator join with those Democratic congresspeople?
To tell you the truth, I wouldn't ask. Number two, if they had, I wouldn't have signed it. The election's over. It's time to move on. But I think it reflects a reality that George Bush has to deal with.
The president signaled from even before the election began that he thought that he implied that it wasn't going to be fair, his absentee ballot things, his mail-in ballots, things with the post office. But I was confident the American people would speak. I must tell you, I wasn't confident the president would accept the voice that they sounded.
Your other hat, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, have you found one of the new woman senators to serve on your committee?
I have found one for certain, and I intend on having two on the committee. Come hell or high water, there will be women on that committee.
How about the idea of appointing the first Hispanic in history?
I think that's a great idea, but it should not be a limiting idea. If he has someone that he likes, he's someone he thinks will foot the bill, I would, in all other things being equal, pick the Hispanic because we should look like America in the court. But do not suggest that you should only pick a woman, a black, Hispanic, or whatever.
I hear so often people saying, the president won, he should get his picks. Well, if that were the case, there wouldn't be a thing called advice and consent in the Constitution. There are several circumstances in which the president should not get his pick. One, obviously, if he picks someone for a job who says they want to do away with the job. I'm not going to vote for anybody who says, I want to be head of a department, my purpose is to get rid of the department. Number two, if you have someone for the job who communicates to the public at large that they are not likely to, in an even-handed way, apply the law, whatever it happens to be, whatever department, then that's a reason not to be for them. I don't speak to interest groups anymore. Ever since the Bork hearing, which was referenced, where I sat down, met with the civil rights groups, told them how I was going to run the hearing, they walked out, held a press conference, and went in and said, we told Joe Biden how to run the hearing, which ruined my reputation from that point. I don't meet with them anymore. I don't give a damn about those groups.
It is important that my administration, I promise you, will look like America, both as from vice president to Supreme Court to cabinet positions to every major position in the White House. It's going to look like America.
There's not a single decision made yet, and ask me my view. Whether I am the absolute last person, I can't guarantee that, but I know that I am one of the last people that gets an opportunity to make the case to him. And when he has a tough decision, and if he's abroad and I'm here or vice versa, he picks up the phones and he calls.
I think the American people are sick of the president's self-indulgence acts, of sexual acts. They're also sick of our self-indulgence acts here in Washington, of liking this process so much we're keeping it going. There's nothing you can do in history. This guy is condemned in history for the acts he committed. Everyone knows what they were. They're there. They'll be in the history books.
Watching President Trump over the last couple of weeks, what lessons do you think he has learned from impeachment?
That, in fact, he's been released of any shackles were on him called the Constitution. I've never seen anyone, and I've been a chairman of the Judiciary Committee for years and years. No one, including Richard Nixon, I was there at the end of his term, no one has weaponized the Department of Justice.
Some Democrats want investigations to go forward against President Trump after he leaves office. Do you support that?
I will not do what this president does and use the Justice Department as my vehicle to insist that something happened. There are a number of investigations that I've read about that are at a state level. There's nothing at all I can or cannot do about that.
Well, I got here, and a lot of old segregationists were still here. Yet we did not engage in arguments about motive. We engaged in arguments about policy. And all of a sudden, in the mid-'90s, it became, if you're not with us, you're not a good Christian. If you're not with us, you're not moral. If you share a view, you are unpatriotic. The whole
nature of the debate changed. You had senators talking about the President of the United States on the floor calling him Bubba. And we wonder why that doesn't percolate through the entire society.
There's not a single Democrat or Republican who's ever worked with me that will not look you in the eye and say Biden has never, ever, ever broken his word. So that's why I'm able to go up there. I don't always succeed, but I like these guys. They're my friends. I've got a lot of these Republicans are my friends.
Do you think that there is a modern right-wing conspiracy that has aligned against this president?
No, I don't think there's a modern right. I think the Republican Party has been taken over by the Tea Party. It happens. Those things happen. My party was taken over by the far left when I got elected in 1972. We need a strong Republican Party, a party that there's 2 or 3 or 4 people when they're not in office, or if they have a president when he's in office, can speak for the party, can make agreements. That's what we need. When we beat Donald Trump, you're going to see a great impediment taken out of the way.
We need to heal the red and the blue here, man. The red states and the blue states.
I want to begin with the hits on your family, the attacks from the president, from members of Congress, the fact that that's what we spent 3 months publicly having to deal with this. How's it impacted you?
Well, you know, it, first of all, initially made me angry. But I realized that whomever was likely to be, whoever he most feared was going to be the victim of his affection. No matter who it is, they're going to go after him. And secondly, what I determined was, and I know this sounds, I don't know what it sounds, I'll just say it. You know, a president can't just fight. The president has to be able to forgive. I got to focus on the future. I got to focus on how do we end this era of, I mean, how do we literally, I wrote about, restore the soul of this country? I mean, it's just being eaten out. It's being eaten away. The cruelty, the viciousness, the way he pits people against one another, the way he goes after people of color. My entire career, I've been able to bring Democrats and Republicans together. And now people say, well, that was the old days, Joe. Things have changed. Well, the only thing that's changed is the way in which the politics that has been moved by some in the party have just gotten really ugly.
Give me a line from your inauguration speech. What do you tell the American people? What do you tell those people on the far right, the people on the far left?
I don't tell them very much. I tell the 80% of the people in the middle that, in fact, we have to pull the country together, and we can.
Hello from Washington, I'm Chuck Todd, and thanks for checking out the Meet the Press channel on YouTube. Click on the button down here to subscribe and click over here to watch the latest interviews, highlights, and other digital exclusives.